Well, hello, Holistic Homies. This is Andy with Holistic Made Easy, and we are super excited today for another episode of Holistic Made Easy TV. We've got Dr. Brittney McGettrick with us today, and I'm super excited. She's a chiropractor. She's all things yoga. She's also a carnivore diet enthusiast, which I'm super excited to hear more about that. And I've been experimenting with that a little bit as well. She knows that. Now, Brittney, you and I originally met at the Nashville Fit Magazine Expo, I believe. And you had mentioned something that it was different than most chiropractors. And we'll get into that a little bit later. But I was blessed and experienced to visit your clinic recently and realized that it was more than just the cliche chiropractor backcracking. I've also been quite impressed with your knowledge about the carnivore diet, like I mentioned. I look forward to talking more about that. But thank you so much again for joining us today for this quick session and partnering with Holistic Made Easy.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Now, before we get started, we'll do something really quick that's fun. I'd like for you to tell us 2 fun facts about Dr. Brittney McGettrick that most people would not know.
Okay. Let's see. Well, one, I used to be vegan.
Okay, so that's quite a change for the carnivore diet.
Yeah. Kind of went to the radical other side.
Do you get any hate mail from vegans that you've changed?
Yes, all the time, actually. I get many vegan trolls. Which, no offense to any vegans out there. I know there's many nice vegans, but
hey, you know, and you and I talked about, eating right for your blood type and all of that. Some people do much better on certain different diets. But yes, that's interesting. And I wondered if people came after you.
Yep, they do. But you just gotta read the message and move on.
Yes.
Let's see. And the other fun fact, when I was younger, when I was growing up, I actually used to want to be a lawyer.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. What sparked that interest?
That's a good question. Probably a little bit of watching the movie Legally Blonde.
Nice. One of my wife's favorites.
Yeah, I mean, not gonna lie. And I also was just always very good at arguing and, like making my point. And I always had passionate opinions about many things. So I think that all factored into it.
Yeah, absolutely. My dad always said that I would be a great lawyer or a great salesman because I was the same way. I was always pleading my case on why I should be able to do certain things as a child.
Yeah.
Push until you win.
Yeah. Exactly.
All right. Well, your office is called Evergreen, correct? And can you tell us a little bit of the history of Evergreen, what the concept behind that, why you got a vision to do your own business and where the name came from?
Yeah. So I moved to Nashville last year. So I didn't know anyone when I moved here. It was sort of a random move to the middle of the country. And so my plan when I got here was to stay just super low overhead, maybe just rent a room in the back of a gym or from another doctor, something like that. Just kind of get my feet wet, get to know people in the city and not necessarily jump all in and do my own thing right away. But when I got here and I was, meeting people and talking about what I do, I'm a chiropractor, this and that, I practice Gonstead. A big part of the Gonstead technique is taking full spine x-rays of our patients and analyzing those x-rays and seeing what's going on the inside of the body before we put our hands on anyone. And I knew if I ended up in the back of a gym or somewhere like that, I wouldn't have the capability to have x-ray. And so for me, that just felt very inauthentic. And I was sort of struggling with what to do. And so then I decided, you know what? If you're going to do it, just do it, jump all in.
Yep.
So I decided to just dive in and do my own thing, even not knowing a soul in the whole city.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, and I will mention this, one of the cool things that I loved about your office is Talus. Amazing. And I know you post all your Instagram posts. A lot of them have the dog in there, but that dog is really cool. You're very lucky.
Yeah. He's my 1-year-old black lab. He comes to work with me every day.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
So anything exciting or noteworthy news that you have coming that maybe the holistic homies would like to know about that, within the practice you can talk. I know you also maybe share a little bit about your yoga experience. You've done a lot with yoga. And we'll dive into the carnivore diet a little bit too. But anything exciting new stuff that's happening at the office or coming up?
Yeah, definitely. So, yeah, with the whole coronavirus situation and us, staying at home, I teach yoga. I taught at Core Power when the studios were open. But now that everywhere is closed, I've been teaching yoga online. So I'm teaching it on my Instagram, on Instagram Live. And I'm also developing an online carnivore diet program. So
Mhm.
you can do it, especially when you're home and cooking more and having to get used to that. It's a great time to, clean up the pantry, clean up your diet.
Yep. Yep.
So yeah, so I'm starting to move more into the online sector of things. I actually have a bundle of like yoga workout classes that you can purchase and take whenever. So if you're not on Instagram, you can always do it that way. And then my carnivore diet online program is coming out too. It's going to be a 5-week reset. That's really how I like to use the diet. It doesn't have to be a forever thing. It can be sort of done as a reset or an elimination diet, anything like that.
Right.
And then as far as the practice goes, we've been open this whole time, which is so great. I'm so thankful that we are an essential service. So we, help out healthcare workers, whether it's keeping people out of the emergency room, so keeping them away from other potential coronavirus patients, things like that. People are having an acute migraine. If they've thrown out their back, they can come into the chiropractor rather than having to go to urgent care or anything like that. So as far as practice goes, we're just, continuing to truck along through this whole situation.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great. And just so you know, I did try you had a recipe that has like orange juice, lemons, limes, and I did that this past weekend, and it was
Oh
awesome.
yeah.
It was very
That,
good. So
yeah.
I would highly recommend checking out the program with her and looking at some of these recipes because that one was awesome. It was really
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. That was, the carne asada recipe.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
that's what it
So
is.
good.
So one of the things that makes Evergreen Chiropractic unique is, like you mentioned, the Gonstead Technique. Could you give us some insight on the practice and why you chose to focus there on that specific technique? Because many have heard of chiropractic, right, and how it deals with the spine misalignment. But how does the Gonstead technique different from other practices? And how unique is it? I mean, how many are in Nashville that are doing it? How many are in Tennessee that are doing it? Can you just go a little deeper into the Gonstead stuff?
Yeah. Yeah, so Gonstead it's a specialty within the chiropractic profession. So there are many different ways to practice chiropractic and ways to adjust the spine. So that's what these different techniques are. Gonstead is pretty exclusive. There's only about 500 Gonstead doctors in the world. In Nashville, I'm the only doctor who exclusively practices the Gonstead technique.
Hmm.
There's some doctors who like to say that they practice a little bit of Gonstead, but that's like being a little bit pregnant. There's no such
Right.
thing.
Yeah.
Right? You
Yeah.
either are or you aren't.
Gotcha.
So I am the only full Gonstead office in the Nashville area. There's a couple more that are sort of on the outskirts. There's one in Murfreesboro and Mount Juliet, but I'm the only one in Nashville.
Mm.
So the biggest difference in the Gonstead doctor from sort of your regular chiropractors that people may have been exposed to is that when we adjust the spine, we never twist it up. So we never induce rotation into the spine to correct the misalignment.
Hmm.
So I'll never lie someone down, face up and like twist their neck up side to side. Let me see, I've got here it is, my little spine back here. So that twisting motion is a shearing force on the discs. So you have discs in between your spine, and it can be damaging to them over time. Also, the twisting motion is not truly correcting what's going on in the spine as well. Because when a
Mm.
bone misaligns, it moves backwards first. So it's always going to
Okay.
move backwards before it goes anywhere else.
Okay.
When it misaligns, it doesn't predominantly misalign in a twist. We might injure it doing a twist. So a lot of people will, bend and twist forward, and that's
Right.
how they injure it. But the
Yeah.
actual injury itself is the bone moving backwards. And that's when we start to get into trouble. So that's what I'm doing as a Gonstead doctor is I'm just putting the bone, lifting it, putting it back up onto the disc, pushing it straight forward essentially without twisting it up.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
some other differences in this office, like I said, we take full spine x-rays so we can see what's going on the inside. We take x-rays of every patient who comes in, at least initially on their first visit. Everything we do is skin on skin. So women will put on a gown, men always take off their shirts when they come in because we use a tool called a nervoscope, which is just like a fancy thermometer,
Okay.
essentially that we run along the spine, and it's looking for areas of inflammation or irritation. Because when you have a misalignment in your spine, it gets inflamed, which creates heat.
Hmm.
Same thing, like if anyone has ever rolled an ankle, if they're familiar, if the ankle gets swollen and it'll get hot,
Right.
Same thing is happening to in our spine. And so that's what this thermometer is helping me find, those areas. So that way I can go right in, and I only ever adjust one bone at a time.
Mm.
So it's not gonna be a whole zipper effect of a bunch of bones, popping and clicking all the way up and down the spine.
Yeah.
Just looking for the one that's causing the problem. We adjust that, we leave the rest alone, let the body do its own healing magic after that. And then, yeah, we go from there.
Yeah, and I would say too, from my personal experience, it's very different. I've been to a lot of chiropractors in our industry, and when you kind of pulled my knee across and turned me sideways and stuff, instead of sitting on one of those impact tables where they just slam you down and the chair's going up and down and stuff. So yeah, it's very different, and the science behind it is quite intriguing, actually. So thank you for sharing that. So let's just say if you had a magic wand and you were able to improve one thing about your personal business, is there anything that you would say, man, I really wish I could do this, or, maybe 3 years down the road, I'd like to do this, or something like that? Anything specific?
In my own business, let me think. I mean, well,
It could be
really,
as easy as having another dog, but
yeah, right, yeah. Get a little brother for Talus.
yeah.
I mean, really, I just wish that more people would utilize chiropractic and understand how powerful it can be.
Okay.
So, nationally, only about 11% of the population has ever been to the chiropractor. 11%,
Yeah.
which is so crazy to me. That's so low. And so I wish, and I mean, eventually, hopefully we will get to get to that stage where more people are open to how powerful chiropractic truly is. I think there's
Right.
a lot of people who think it's just sort of like a feel-good treatment. It's like
Yeah.
or it's like getting a facial, or, just something that's like, or like getting your nails done, something like that.
Right.
When really we're dealing with your nervous system,
Mm-hmm.
which is so powerful. That controls every single thing that happens in your body. It controls how well your cells divide. It controls how well your immune system keeps up,
Right.
how well, your muscles move, and if they get tight or not. Like, yeah, that's like secondary. It's like musculoskeletal things.
Yeah.
It affects how
Yeah.
your organs are working.
Right. Yeah, that's
But
what I was going to say
people,
too, is so many people, they know this intellectually, but it's not an everyday thought, right? That everything, all your extremities, your organs, your brain, everything comes off of that part of your body, right? I mean,
yeah,
without that spinal cord, nothing's going to work. And so I know that, especially for me, like you and I even talked about, one of my biggest challenges that I've had over the years is eczema, right? And to the point sometimes that it was completely crippling. And, I know that it's not a soap that I'm using. I know it's not like the paper towels in the restroom. So many doctors told me, well, it's something topically, blah, blah, blah. No, it's something internally that is going on, and you're just saying, like, your spinal cord is connected to all those organs. A lot of times that people have eczema, psoriasis, those kind of things. It's something in the gut, maybe the liver, something like that. And so that spine is so important to getting everything else back in balance, right?
yeah, exactly. Because a lot of people think of, gut health, or like if something's going on with your liver, like you were saying, of what you're eating, which, yes, has a huge impact, of course. I mean, I'm a dietitian and a chiropractor, so
Right. Yeah.
I'm on both teams.
Double whammy.
Yes, you're eating, yeah, matters, but also the way that your nervous system is communicating to your gut, that matters too, right? We want to get both sides of the spectrum working together.
Right. Yep. So, and talking of food, talking of carnivore and stuff, what are, and it doesn't have to be food, but I know you mentioned a meat product or a meat program that you're with, but what are two of your favorite products, devices, services that you use regularly yourself, or maybe your patients have introduced you to, that our Holistic Made Easy audience should be aware of? So, do you have one, two, maybe even three things that you like that would be great for sending clients to check out?
Yeah. So my one, for as far as products go, the only really thing that I take besides eating food, the only sort of like supplement that I take is Ancestral Supplements is the brand.
Okay.
And they make it's beef organ little capsules. So it's eating beef organs without having to actually eat the organs.
I need to get on those because I'm doing a lot of the carnivore stuff right now, and
Yeah.
I do have some supplements that have liver in them, but I want to broaden that to, like you're saying, kidneys and stuff like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. It makes a huge, huge difference. And especially for things like eczema, psoriasis, any sort of skin issues, beef liver is hugely helpful in those conditions. Um, but I'm a huge fan of, eating the food. So if you are someone who can eat beef tongue and heart and liver and you think it's yummy and you want to just eat it, like, please, by all means, eat it.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be honest, I wasn't raised on it. I've tried many different ways. It's just, liver is so gross to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this is sort of like the next best thing. If you can't eat it,
Right.
then at least get it in this little supplement form, which I really like it because it's Ancestral Supplements is just true organs that are dehydrated and put into a capsule.
Cool.
So they're in a little gel cap, which I also am really bad at swallowing pills. So what I do is I just break the capsule open and I pour it into my food. So I'll mix
Great
it
idea.
in
Yeah.
beef, whatever I'm eating. And that's a great way where you can mix it in for kids also. So if you want to have kids getting more organs, you can do it that way.
Yeah. And I like you said, the ancestral, what's the name of it again?
Yeah, Ancestral Supplements.
Supplement. Yeah. A lot of the guys I follow, like Ben Greenfield and Joe Rogan and some of those guys, they talk about the snout to tail philosophy, right? And eating, because our ancestors did that, right? They ate and utilized the whole animal. And so I'm glad we're getting back to that. I worked for Ancient Nutrition for 5 years, and that whole philosophy is what they're built on, right? Ancient traditions, ancient nutrition. So I'm definitely in line with that. That's good. Any other products, services, or anything else you can think of that you want to suggest maybe that people check out?
That's the biggest one. That's really, like I said, it's really the only sort of like supplement or like product that I use that's not just eating real whole food.
Yeah.
I will say though, I make like a bulletproof coffee in the morning.
Yes.
And I make it with ghee. And there's a brand called Fourth and Heart, and they make a vanilla bean ghee. It's a game changer.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I'm also a huge fan of that.
Cool.
Yeah, if you're ghee in your coffee, use the vanilla bean. You'll never go back to just regular.
Wow. Yeah. I need to try that because I just use regular ghee, and if you do too much, it can be not so good.
Yeah. Yeah. If you open it up, it smells like a vanilla cupcake. It's so yummy.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Okay, send me that link.
Okay.
That's awesome.
I will.
I'll put it on the video. And one thing I wanted to say too. So when I talk to people, I kind of tell in this section what I've been doing that's a little bit different, right? And so just talking to you as a doctor, have you heard of one of the things I'm really getting into is Wim Hof breathing and the cold exposure therapy? And have you looked at that or seen that or know anything about it?
Yeah, I've played around with it a little bit. So I read Aubrey Marcus's book 2 or 3 years ago when it came out. It was Own the Day, I think it was called.
Okay.
So Aubrey Marcus, he was big into cold showers.
Okay.
So I did do those for a little while after I read that book, but I'm not like a huge fan of them. Just like, I'm a huge fan of what they do, but like actually taking a cold shower is kind of brutal.
Yeah. So that's what I'm doing lately is just I'll do the hot and then go to cold for 30 seconds, go to hot, go to cold, and getting used to it. But I'm about to take the plunge, literally. I'm going to so I'm going to be filling up the bathtub this week and doing ice every day in the bathtub. So just sitting in an ice bath. So we'll have to check in and see how that's going. But I'm excited to try. I've been doing the breathing for a couple of weeks, and there's an app. We're not associated or anything with Wim Hof, but there is a Wim Hof app that you can get, and it's really good because it plays some music in the background. He talks you through the breathing and stuff. And essentially, what you're doing is you're over oxygenating your system to get out of fight or flight, and then training. It's really cool. It's just training your body to relax, right? And then helping your cardiovascular and your cellular system get a reboot. So going back to the clinic, what are some of the most common struggles and ailments that you see in your practice? And what would you say most injuries stem from? I know you and I talked about my past. I had a broken back in high school doing pole vaulting, all kinds of injuries in soccer and ankles and stuff like that. But what would you say maybe the number 1 or 2 things that you see most commonly in your practice that, I don't know, maybe even things that people wouldn't even think of until they really dig deep. Oh, well, maybe it's this or something like that. And Just curious on your thoughts there.
Yeah. So I see a ton of fairly young women, like women in their 20s, who have hormonal imbalances all over the place. So whether that's just really terrible periods, so like really bad menstrual cramps, irregular periods, all the way up to fully diagnosed with PCOS or not getting a period anymore, which I know, ladies, that sounds convenient, but it's not healthy.
Yeah, right.
It's a sign of health, of
Yeah.
being able to reproduce is key number one. So I see a ton of that, a ton of like hormonal imbalances and autoimmune conditions are starting to pop up more and more, which is just so wild. And like I said, these are women in their 20s. Like they should not be this sick to be that young.
Yeah.
But I'm also really excited because there's a number of things you can do, but adjustments definitely make a huge difference in helping to balance the hormones. Oftentimes when women come in and I'm running my scope along their spine and seeing what comes up that day, I can tell if they're within a week or two of their period. Because
Wow,
oftentimes
that's cool.
yeah,
Wow.
the upper lumbar area, which is sort of interesting because you would think like maybe low back or something, because it's closer to the uterus, but it's actually the upper lumbar. So just underneath your rib cage.
Okay.
It's right in that area because that's where the nerves that send signs to, the uterus and the ovaries and things
Makes
like
sense.
that.
Yeah.
Oftentimes we can adjust that. And after just a matter of weeks, I've had many, many women who their period cramps are so much less than they ever used to be. I've had women who used to have to take Midol every 3 hours every day, like 5 days.
Yep.
And now they're coming in and they might take Midol like once a day for the first 2 days, and then that's it. It's a dramatic reduction in the cramps. I've had a couple women who weren't getting their periods anymore start getting their periods again, which is so cool and exciting.
Absolutely.
That's so cool because that's just shows you, like I said, the health of the body. So I see, a ton of that. And then as far as autoimmune conditions go, yes, of course, adjusting the spine will help with that. And then also looking at what we're eating has a lot to do with that too. So getting rid of things, like leaky gut, that's a huge causer of inflammation in the body, which can lead to autoimmune conditions.
Right.
Really, getting the spine right, getting the diet right. We're not meant to be sick. We're meant to be healthy.
Yeah.
Our body wants to.
Yep. And one thing too, and I'm sure you're cognizant of this. Can you tell a little bit of difference? Like what would you do differently for, say, like my 5-year-old son compared to my wife, compared to me, compared to maybe if one of the Nashville Predators comes in and needs something, like, there's going to be a different issue for each one of them, right? Except they all have a spine and each one of them has the same organs and stuff. So how do you decide, how to do a difference between a 5-year-old and maybe, like I said, a professional athlete or something like that?
Yeah. That is one thing that I really love about the Gonstead system that I have, because the Gonstead work, it comes down to using it's a checklist of a number of different things that we're looking at to determine what to adjust in that person. So it's not just, the same thing on everybody, or just, flying up and down the spine and just hitting, the easy spots twice. I'm looking at the x-ray, I'm scoping the patient, I'm using my nervous scope every single time. We do palpation, so I'm using my hands to feel how the joints are moving. And I'm talking to the person too and seeing, what their symptoms are, what is going on with that person. Additionally, being skin on skin, I can see if there's any changes in the muscle tone or skin blemishes, things like that, changes in the skin. That will also tell me a lot about what's going on for that person. So it's interesting because when people come in, so like 5-year-old and mom and a Nashville Predator, when they come in, it's going to be essentially the same exam on all of them. I'm going to scope everyone. I'm going to take an x-ray if they're an adult. I wouldn't take an x-ray of a 5-year-old, but there's other things we can do. I'm going to see their skin changes. I'm going to feel how their joints are moving. And then the biggest difference is in the way that I adjust. So mom, who's had, 3 kids, her pelvis and her, flexibility and things that are going on in her spine are going to be a little bit different in the way that I adjust her versus a 5-year-old. Like when we adjust kids, kids are super easy to adjust. So it's not the big thrusting that, you're used to on adults. It's more so just like a light pressure on them. Versus Nashville Predator, I'm going to have to adjust him in a different way. which is actually interesting in that he would probably be the easiest one to adjust.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the big, like, bulky, like, CrossFit guys are actually way easier to adjust than, like,
Really?
ballerinas.
Ah,
Yeah.
why is that?
Yeah, well, it's because they're so flexible, it's really hard to adjust them without twisting them
Oh,
up. Yeah, so
okay.
the stiff guys, I can just, roll them over and go for it. But the ballerinas, I mean, if I wanted to, I could, twist them all the way around, basically, which I'm doing everything in my power not to twist them up.
Yeah,
It's
that's
actually more
interesting. So
difficult.
that's
Yeah.
that's definitely something I learned today. That's
Yeah.
interesting. That makes sense though. It makes sense. And like you were saying with kids, like I mean, we even had someone at our birth. So when Xavier was born, she adjusted him right away when he came out, and it was awesome.
Yeah, that's so
Um,
cool.
so yeah. So doctor, do you take insurance, and who's covered if you do? What's covered? Can you speak to that just real quickly?
Yeah, so my practice is cash based. So when people come in, they can pay,
Okay.
cash, credit card, anything like that. If they want to go through insurance, we can give them, it's essentially a receipt. It's called a super bill. It has, diagnosis codes and things like that on it. So then people can take that to their insurance company. And if they cover, it's called out of network doctors, then they get reimbursed directly.
Okay.
And we do that. So when you go through insurance as a doctor, the insurance company is going to come back and basically try to tell me how to treat the patient. They're going to tell me how many visits they think are justified, what we should be doing at each visit. So by releasing that from this office and just dealing with my patients and just,
Right.
being a fee for service, it really allows me to design my treatment plans and what is best for that person in front of me and
Yep.
their body, and not having to worry about, oh, well, is insurance going to agree with this, or are they going to cover this many visits?
Right.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it makes it a little bit easier, and we always keep our services, as affordable as we can as well. So I'm not going to ask you to come, break the bank to come take care of your spine.
Gotcha. Cool.
Yeah.
And I assume you can use FSA, HSA, that kind of stuff with you.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. People get the little like debit. They can use like a debit card. Yeah,
Yep.
those work.
Okay. Great. Great.
Yeah,
And then one last thing. Let's go back to the carnivore real quick. So
yeah.
tell us a little bit more why you got into carnivore, why you switched from vegan, why you're excited about it. Maybe a little bit about your program, a little more. I know you said that. So it's out and available now. The program is.
Yes.
Like people
Yep.
can go there and get it. So yeah, just a little bit on who do you follow in that world? Why did you get into it? What happened from being a vegan to deciding maybe I should go to meat or try this meat and that kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. So growing up, I was an omnivore. I just, ate sort of standard American diet. When I was 19 years old, I read a book that talked about the meatpacking industry, and it totally grossed me out. So I was like, okay, I'm going vegan. So went vegan for about a year, and then was vegetarian for a total of 6 years. Because I really liked ice cream and cheese. So
Yeah.
I was vegetarian. But it was when I was in chiropractic school that I started to have really bad inflammation in my wrists. So my wrists they would hurt really bad. I wouldn't be able to do yoga. I would get them adjusted, which would help, but they were still just so inflamed. And there was a doctor that we used to go shadow, and he had this theory that chronic wrist inflammation was due to a zinc deficiency in the diet. And I honestly brushed it off. I was like, that's ridiculous. Why would it just be my wrists? Like, what? That's so silly. But one of the best sources of zinc in the diet is red meat. So vegetarians, vegans tend to be fairly deficient in zinc. So I brushed it off, didn't think anything of it. And then a few months later, we were shadowing him again. My wrists were so bad at the time. The conversation came up again about the whole zinc wrist thing. I was like, well, forget it. Like I'm in a stage now, like I'll do anything.
Right. Yeah.
So I added red meat back into my diet. I just started eating it for one meal a day, and my wrists got so much better. Like so much better. When I got them adjusted, the adjustments would hold. I could do yoga again, and they've been better ever since. Yeah, it was so crazy.
That's crazy.
So I would say I was sort of like paleo for a couple of years when I added red meat back into my diet. I had taken gluten out already.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd call it paleo, but definitely high carb because I love carbohydrates.
Yeah. Don't we all?
A whole nother story. Yeah. So it's probably about a year and a half, maybe 2 years of that sort of paleo. And then some friends of mine had heard Joe Rogan's podcast. Joe Rogan had Dr. Sean Baker on talking about the carnivore diet at the end of 2017. And so they were going to do carnivore for the month of January. and asked me to do it with him. So I was like, oh, sure, I'll try out this carnivore thing. So I did carnivore for 30 days in January of 2018 and was amazed at the results. So I had eczema. I never in my life had I had it before, but a few months before going carnivore, developed it randomly. Within 1 week of going carnivore, it was gone. It's never come back. I have steady energy levels throughout the day, whereas I used to be a roller coaster of energy, and I used to always fall asleep after lunch. Like, didn't matter what I was doing. If I was sitting in class, doing anything, like narcoleptic after lunch.
Wow. Now, do you
Yeah.
think that was because of iron or an iron deficiency too, or what do you think that was caused by? Hormonal something like?
Honestly, I just think it was just the food I was eating. Because
Yeah.
even when I was paleo and I would always have my red meat in my lunch. Even when I was in school, I would still be super sleepy after
Okay.
lunch. Just the food that I was eating wasn't giving me energy. It was draining me rather than giving me energy.
Wow.
Which that's another thing that I notice is, so my dog is carnivore also. I feed him a raw meat diet. And after I feed him, he goes bananas. He wants to play and he's getting his toy. He has so much energy, right? And that is what food should do for us.
Yeah.
When we eat, we should be energized. It shouldn't be this food coma where, we want to go fall asleep.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, that was a huge difference for me. I also
Okay.
didn't have to be neurotic about having snacks with me all the time. I used to always, have to have a granola bar or something, some sort of snack with me because I would get hungry. But now I have steady levels of fullness throughout the day. I don't have to worry about if I have a snack with me, when I'm going to eat again. So my body is just, it's going and it's nourished.
And how many meals an hour are you eating a day that are carnivore?
Now I eat about 2 meals a day. So I
Okay.
never was able to do like intermittent fasting before. I had tried to do that and I felt like crap. It would give me headaches and I was tired and just did not feel good. When I became carnivore, at first I would eat breakfast every day. So I'd make eggs and bacon, or I'd have like leftover steak cut up or something, have that for breakfast. And then slowly I started to be able to transition to not eating breakfast anymore.
Yeah.
So it just sort of naturally happened. So now I will typically have a lunch and a dinner.
Yeah. That's kind of where, so since I've gotten more heavily into the carnivore, that's the same with me. Like when I get up in the morning, I'm not really hungry. Like so really what I've been doing, again, in plug for ancient nutrition, but I do the bone broth protein in the morning. So I just do a drink, and sometimes it's even just the pure bone broth protein, which is chicken broth. And I'll do a little chicken broth with that. So it's more like a tea, I guess, soup. But I do love the chocolate and the like salted caramel and stuff like that. So, but I'll do that. But I mean, you're talking, some of those I think have just 90 to 100 calories. I mean, it's not like a ton, but it'll get me through from 6:30 in the morning until noon. I just am not real hungry in the mornings now because, like you're saying, like I'm feeling much more satiated doing this. And I'm probably only 75 to 80% full carnivore. I'm still doing some almonds and stuff like that. By the way, do you do cheese and do you do so you do eggs obviously, but do you do any other dairy, or I guess I say dairy, or any other byproducts of meat rather than just meat?
Yeah, so technically like if you're looking at what the carnivore diet is, dairy is included and it's on an as tolerated basis. So some people don't really tolerate dairy well, so they should cut it out. I do still have some dairy, but not very much. I'll do cheese. I'll make like carnivore nachos. So you have pork rinds and then ground beef and do cheese on top of that. Yeah, they're really good. So, I'll do cheese in that case, or sometimes I'll put cheese on like hamburger patties.
Yep.
But it's not too much. It's like 1 meal a day.
Okay.
I do that.
And where should we send people to find you? So maybe your social media stuff and your website. Can you give those out real quick?
Yeah. So my Instagram is Dr. McGetrick. My last name is McGetrick. And then the link to my website is there in the bio of my Instagram and everything. But it's Evergreen Chiro Nash is my chiropractic website. And then I do have the carnivore program as well. And so I actually have a different website for that. So that's Carnivore Country. So it's carnivorecountry.com for all of the carnivore things. My 5-week reset program, where I go into how to do carnivore, what to expect in the first few weeks. And then I have all different modules talking about, gluten. Is it a fad diet? How much salt should we be eating every day? And I also have a module included in that program. It's the very last module, and it's how to reintroduce foods that are not carnivore. So if you don't want to be carnivore forever, you don't have to. I have a whole module that explains, if you're doing this for food sensitivities or for an autoimmune condition, here is how to sort of reintroduce these foods and figure out if you're having a reaction to them.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Great. And one last thing, because Dr. Brittney is so awesome, we are partnering with her as one of our affiliate partners with Holistic Made Easy. So all of our holistic homies can go to email info@holisticmadeeasy.com, put Evergreen in the subject line, and you will get 10% off your first visit with Dr. Brittney. So we're very excited to be a part of that. So again, it's info@holisticmadeeasy.com, and just put Evergreen in the subject line, and we will send you the link to be able to get 10% off your first visit. So is there anything else, Doctor, that you would like to share with our audience before we go here?
I think we covered most of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, thank you all for joining us, and thank you, Dr. Brittney, for taking the time to share some awesome insight. And I'm sure most people learned at least one thing, if not many, between you and I. So I so much appreciate it, and thank you so much for coming on. Hopefully we'll have you back on soon.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
All right. Thanks. Bye, guys.